I'm outside the tiny little City Hall of Dalton Gardens, Idaho, right next to Coeur d'Alene. I received a text message this week with an announcement that there is going to be a presentation given on emergency communications options. So I decided to make a little trip, come down and see what they have to say. Okay, so this is pretty cool. I had to step outside real quick. As it turns out, this presentation is being put on by an AmRRON member for the mayor. I should have known. So the mayor apparently recently attended a FEMA conference for community leaders, county commissioners, mayors, and now he's all fired up about emergency communications. And so he's asked a local, very active ham radio operator who's a very active AmRRON member to put on this presentation. So we'll see how it goes. Pretty cool. All right, so he did a really good job displaying a wide variety of equipment from licensed to unlicensed radios, backup power equipment, and a Starlink. You can see there one of those new mobile Starlinks. And also, what do we see here? What is that? Some of you guys know? Yeah, that's a Meshtastic. Also a really nice Go box there. I took some videos of the front and back, how he's got that configured. Lots of great ideas there. But then he gets into the presentation, and I have to admit, I made a mistake. I had mic'd up Gordy, who was the main speaker. This is the mayor who's introducing Gordy, and I had the wireless mic on Gordy, and I had accidentally partially unplugged the receiver from my camera. You can hear, this is what it sounds like.
How many ham operators in the room tonight? Big fine hands, hold them up, there you go. How many have radios that aren't ham operators? Okay, there you go. Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's obviously very unacceptable. And I wasn't going to play the whole thing anyway. But I want to hit some of the highlights. He had a really nice slide presentation together. And these are some good ideas that we can all take away from when we're talking to our community, putting on a free presentation like this, or talking to elected officials, our pastors, those kind of people who will listen. And this really is about building relationships. And I've stressed that for years. And we'll talk about that more now that we're doing YouTube videos, how to go about doing that. You know, developing a plan, not just for your family, but maybe for your church, maybe for your mutual assistance group, your prepper group, what have you. But he did a good job of kind of really developing a logical flow here. And it starts with identifying likely disasters that are in your area. Every area is going to be unique. If you live, in the Southeast, maybe you're preparing for hurricanes. If you are living on the West Coast, maybe earthquakes. And so you want to start getting information. You can get a hold of your state emergency communications planners, your county EOC, and start learning. For example, if you live in an earthquake-prone area, they might have tsunami information and travel route, pre-designated escape routes, where shelters might be, and what type of communications and other emergency plans that you have, in your state and in your community. One thing he did bring up that I thought was really good, and that was your local county. In Kootenai County, where this presentation was being put on, in most communities, in most counties, it's the county that the Emergency Operations Center falls under. They handle, disaster response. And in Kootenai County, they have something that you can sign up for. It's Alert Kootenai, and you can get text alerts whenever there's some type of emergency or developing situation to let you know what's going on in your county. Now, this is grid up comms, but we're just talking about emergency communications grid up or grid down. So as long as the grid's up, use those communications. We just also want to have a plan for in case, internet and conventional communications are down. But take advantage of these. I think just about every county in the nation now has something similar to this alert kootenai. If you guys may remember, earlier the summer of 2025, we had an active shooter situation with a forest fire where firefighters that were responding came under gunfire. And a couple of firefighters were killed and some were wounded, and it was quite the ordeal. But immediately, this alert kootenai alerts started going out, warning people of the situation, telling them what roads to avoid, what roads were closed, and keeping them updated on the latest. And that goes for whether it's a snowstorm, ice storm, active shooter, any type of an event that you want to stay informed on. They are really good about keeping the citizens updated in a really timely manner. So look into this in your county for your situational awareness. It's another communications tool that you can take advantage of so you can make informed decisions. Assigning tasks to different members of your family, and also how you're going to act. Have your not just your communications plan, emergency plan. What if something happens and your kids are at school, and your wife's at work, you're at work, or the family's separated? Do you have a common link up rally point? Safe places that they can go to, friends or family members' houses, and directions on how to get their phone numbers, and hopefully the unconventional communications as well. I know more and more folks are outfitting their families with communications that they can use, and this is a whole series that I plan on doing, prepper communications in emergencies, that will look at different options that are available for equipping your family, but not just your family, but maybe your church, your mutual assistance group, what have you, so that you can have plans and identify roles, responsibilities, medical personnel, communications personnel, security personnel, but we're going to focus heavily on the communications portion. Identifying emergency communications methods. And these are just images from the slide presentation that he gave. And once again, did a good job of introducing the audience to unlicensed communications, which is very important because so many people, they don't have any interest whatsoever in getting any kind of a license, much less having to take a test for this. So explain some of the options that are out there for unlicensed communications. GMRS, which does require a license, but it's good for 10 years. It covers your entire family, and they give you a lot more capabilities, or a lot more GMRS repeaters around. And that's what he was talking about here, explaining when telephone systems, internet goes down, the different capabilities of licensed and unlicensed radios, and of course the limitations of those as well. So then, of course, he got into licensed ham communications and how you can take advantage of all of the different types of, amateur radio communications that are out there. And also he stressed, getting folks to participate in practice and training, whether it's stop the bleed and first aid training to communications training, and do some scenario-based training where you can really put some of this stuff to the test and run some scenarios, practice grid down and your comms. And of course, he talked about the various types of HF or communications, including HF, VHF, and mobile, portable. But also, and the other thing too, some very simple terms, like what does simplex mean, or what's a repeater for, and how do you use a repeater, getting into duplex operations and the advantages of some of the tools that are out there when you do get a GMRS license or even a ham license. So he was really good about introducing the audience. There was only about 25 people in attendance, but that was actually a very good turnout for this small of a town and venue. But the people were very, very interested in what he had to say. You'll see he also had a blown up image of the Baofeng UV5R, which is the most common radio out there.
Here is a big button right here that says PTT, which stands for perfect, push to talk. When you talk on that, peoples are going to hear you.
This is what everybody tells all their friends and family to get, and so that's what everybody gets. And you see pictures of law enforcement and military around the world. Literally, they have a Baofeng radio hanging on their harness. And so, yeah, these are the most prolific radios that are out there. And so he goes, right into, the introduction to this radio and some of the buttons and things that are kind of confusing for folks that may not have really had any of this explained to them. And so he does a good job with this, with them covering this. He also gave them some examples about how they can tune in to local nets to hear what it sounds like, to hear it demonstrated, and to understand that these nets are taking place all the time. In Kootenai County, every night, the local ham club is holding a net. AmRRON holds nets weekly, digital and voice nets. So there are opportunities out there, and he was explaining how they can tune in, they can listen, and that those nets will be there in a grid down situation to build familiarity with your radio, with the nets, where to go, what to listen for. And that takes a lot of stress and confusion and anxiety out of a situation if you've been regularly practicing with this and you're comfortable with it. Well, that's what he was driving home here. He talked about some of the various different ways that people volunteer to help in their communities, from the ARRL all the way down to your local ham club, and various different ways that you can volunteer and get involved with radio communications. And then there's a question and answer session afterward, and pretty much close things out. It was a really good meeting. It was impressive, and it was good to see this happening at the local level with somebody volunteering to take the time to teach this, to introduce this to people in the community, and especially working with the mayor. I know that many AmRRON operators have reached out to their county commissioner or their city councilman or their local state representative that goes to church with them, or they're in a men's group or something. So this was really good to see. This is the plan in action.
K7ID, that's a man in the back there, Kootenai Amateur Radio Society.
So hopefully that will serve as maybe some inspiration for some of you who would like to get involved with your community, get engaged, to teach others about the very fundamentals of emergency communications, and start working toward a communications plan in your community or your church, working with local officials or influential people within your community that could use you. People you would want to make sure have the ability to communicate in a real world disaster situation, from the friends and neighbors around you to people that you're going to be looking to for leadership. But this is just a good example of one of the many, many efforts that are taking place across the country all the time, where people are introducing their fellow countrymen to what is available out there in times of disaster. So we will be working on, there are several videos that I have on my list that include these type of presentations to give you ideas how you can put a slide presentation together, the things that you could talk about, your talking points, and maybe even put together a video that you could just present. You could say, everybody, okay, we're going to start with watching this video, and give you an introduction to kind of help you out as an additional tool to explain some of the basics and get you sped up to the question and answer session and start really engaging with people right away. And the other thing too that's real important is follow up. Have a like a sign up list or roster or something. A lot of times people are given information. Here's the basics of water purification, or this is communications, or the importance of first aid, and then boom, they all leave and they don't really remember 95% of what they heard. So a reference sheet that they can go back to and visit and review the things that you discussed, and resources, especially if you can grab them and have follow-up training for those who are interested, to teach them about communications, help them program their Baofeng radio or whatever, and resources for maybe the local ham club net schedule, what frequency and so on. So give them something in their hands, some resources, and don't lose them. Don't follow up with them. It's kind of like somebody goes to church and they say, I accept Jesus, and they say, that's wonderful. Have a nice day. Have a nice life. So follow up with them and make sure that they're plugged in to, further training and networking with others, that they can actually have an outlet for this in a practical sense. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that. And if you did, give us a thumbs up and a like, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. A ton more content is on the way. I'm going to kick it out as rapidly as I can because there's a lot of training to do and time is getting short. So get your comms up. This is John Jacob Schmidt, out.